what is Blacksky and why did you create it?
Yeah. So I would say Blacksky is two things. It's firstly like a community. So it's a community of the Black users on the Blue Sky app. And kind of separately, I refer to as like Black Sky algorithms, which is kind of the team behind it and creating the tools that enable Black Sky to exist. And those tools are an app protocol implementation, specifically called Risky, which enables us to build community. Kind of the TLDR is that trying to enable community building on decentralized apps, particularly centering like marginalized communities. And that usually ends up meaning building in safety tools for them because you're building, app protocol, for folks who don't know, is a decentralized social media protocol that at least thus far has prioritized public conversations. There's plans in the future to have private accounts, private posts, some parts of it are like DMs are private, but they're still like a centralized piece. So they're not really a part of the protocol per se yet, but everything's really public. And so when you're doing something like public, like a Black Sky, that just comes with harassment. And so a key thing that I had to build in from the very beginning almost has been safety tools.
So other social networks really don't give us like the levers to pull to even like build in safety tools. So like there was Black Twitter, but Black Twitter is really just a bunch of people on Twitter that happen to be in the same area talking to each other. What tools does Blue Sky give us to like moderate that community?
And so I would even say that like Blue Sky has like there's a couple things that it allows for, but a lot of stuff that has kept Black Sky safe has kind of just been like hacking on top of that. But the core pieces that Black Sky has been leveraging so far has been custom feeds. It was one of the first custom feeds launched before even custom feeds were available in the Blue Sky app. And that's what was so with custom feeds, the way I would think of it for folks who are not familiar with Blue Sky is like if multiple companies were building the same social media app. And so each different part, when you go into Blue Sky and you load up the custom feeds, those feeds could all be they're all built by different people. Some are built by Blue Sky themselves. Some are built using feed builder tools that developers enable to allow other people to create feeds without needing the technical knowledge to do that. And some feeds are like Black Sky, which I built from scratch. And so that's like one component. And there's like kind of like a philosophy that went into why I thought custom feeds would be good for building a community like Black Sky, because there's like a bit of some people, the first thing people often ask after they maybe understand about Blue Sky is like, why not ActivityPub or like Mastodon for building that similar community? And barrier to entry aside, like I think one of the things is like discoverability. What Black Twitter had was a Black community that was very visible, but still had built up its own defense mechanisms over time that were very like the individual basis. And so people actually brought a lot of those practices over. But with Black Sky, it allowed me to, having like observed how Black Twitter operated and some of the issues it faced, just proactively build some of those things into how the feeds work. The other component that Blue Sky has is composable moderation. So you're not stuck with just Blue Sky's out of the box mod. Like you don't have to rely on just the Blue Sky core moderators. You're able to choose who moderates content for you. And that could mean labeling content, hiding it. There's different protocol nuances of how much a moderator can do and take action on. But that's been a big sell for Black Sky as well, that we're able to offer context-aware content moderation for particularly protecting against anti-Black harassment and misogynoir, which is the intersection between misogyny and anti-Black harassment. And we're able to do that faster than Blue Sky is able to. They recently made a post that they got like 40,000 moderation reports like in a day the other day, I think. And for the context, they had like maybe, I think, what was it, like 300K in all of 2023. And so, I mean, we're all seeing that. Like there's just been lots of different factors that have led to it, but we've all had to kind of scale up our defense mechanisms a bit. But yeah, so for Black users, they're finding that like Black Sky, where maybe another moderator may not take an action because they're unclear if this would be harassment, we're able to be pretty decisive on almost everything that comes across our desk, and have so far been able to do it faster than like Blue Sky would be able to, again, because they're dealing with a backlog of 40,000. We're dealing with a smaller subset of that. And yeah, there's this stackable approach to moderation too. So we're able to like interweave things that I think that's a piece that like is less understood by a lot of folks. But to give an example, people are able to report content to Black Sky, and it's not just stuff where like it would be labeled as anti-Black harassment. It could be that someone is spamming the Black Sky feed. And so I've kind of of directed people to subscribe to the label or service, report this content of something that shouldn't be in the feed. Or it could be someone's being a troll. It could be that like this is a toxic conversation that's happening, and they're able to also use like the in-app reporting to do that really conveniently. And we're able to handle it in a scalable way using the same like moderation, like create different moderation queues. So like this is a queue of stuff that needs to be removed from the feed. This is a queue of stuff that is maybe needs to be labeled. Maybe this is like so vile content that it needs to be, this whole account needs to be put on a block list so that people can automatically block it. There's some stuff that we've built that prevent certain people from even viewing the feed. And so that's like, that was more of a hack. That's not like a thing that people really, no one else has really done that. But that goes back to the philosophy of like, okay, we're going to build this very publicly, because there's this kind of cultural expectation or question that people ask of like, who all gonna be there, which is just like wanting to know who you're going to be in community with before you join a community. Again, that goes back to the tension with discoverability and like a activity pub. So you're able to see the community before you start engaging with it. But because of that, harassment, so the stuff's still a vector of harassment, because people who don't belong or who would be a threat to that community can also see that content. But as soon as they show their hand basically and are discovered as being abusive or whatever the case may be, there's the in-app reporting that can get triggered, automation that we could trigger for identifying certain things as well. And then this was actually kind of a hack that people made to, if your feed is down, you usually just see a generic message of pipe through network error because the upstream service is broken. And so some people kind of made a clever way to just show like a post. So it's a human readable error message. I took that and said like, okay, what if I could put people on like a ban list and then show that error message instead of showing the content that the feed would normally show. So that's like another one. We call that ban from TV. So if, there's all these different things that can be triggered, you can get labeled as anti-Black harassment. You can get put on the green list so people who subscribe can auto block you. You can get banned from viewing the feed so that you're not able to keep using it to find people. And it can really like isolate and stop harm, especially since we can't take down accounts ourselves. So yeah, none of that is possible with like any other platform.
Yeah. That's a lot of clever tooling usage. I especially like the matching user accounts on the feed and just giving them like a custom post that is like an error message. I imagine that wasn't necessarily intended, but it's like a very clever usage of the tools that you have available to you.
And really quick, that's because you can build personalized feeds, right? Like if you wanted to make a For You algorithm, you'd have to know who the user was, so you know what likes they have. So when every request to your feed is like proxied through Blue Sky, but it comes along with your which is called your DID. So it's like your unique identifier on the network. And so then we could say like this DID is not allowed to view this content.